One of the downsides of track riding is that, for many riders, time on the track itself is actually limited, making practicing the various facets of performance riding regularly quite difficult. However, if you have the ability to ride on public roads, your time really is only limited by how much fuel you can afford. In this video, I want to go over some of the ways in which you can practice your riding technique on the road so that you can stay a little bit more up to speed when it comes to returning to the track. Right from the start, I want to be clear that what I'm talking about here isn't different ways you can practice techniques to try and ride faster on public roads. The dangers are larger and the room for error is a lot smaller, so I simply do not see the point practicing certain things on the road when the consequences for falling are so much greater. Things like practicing more aggressive throttle application, practicing very high lean angles, as well as deep and heavy trail braking. These things, along with others, will have you dancing closer to the limits of grip than is necessary for the road, in my personal opinion, especially if these are things you aren't proficient in already and you're looking to improve. Instead, what I want to talk about here are things you can practice on the road where speed isn't the determining factor as to whether you've improved. First up then, vision. I'm going to start with the biggest and most beneficial right at the top. The fundamental principle behind good visual skill is to keep your brain in a constant state of readiness by showing it where you're heading and what's coming next. It's a way of not just looking at the space that's coming, but actually seeing it so that you can best use it and most safely navigate it. On the track, this means using your reference markers to keep track of where you want to go next, and then playing dot to dot around the whole track and simply connecting them all up. On the road, you can practice these same skills, using your main focus as well as your wider vision to keep track of where you're heading and where you want to go next. And this doesn't have to be done at high speed. Even just practicing finding and tracking those markers with your main focus, and then when you know you're going to hit it, switching to your next marker. This will go a long way to helping you use those same skills on the track. To be honest, these skills don't even have to be practiced on a motorcycle. You can even do it in a car or on your bicycle, for example. Next up, steering. Confident bike control is one of the absolute key aspects to improving your level of riding. Knowing exactly how to put the bike where you want at any given moment and understanding how you did that will go a long way to improving your overall confidence as a rider. This means learning what effect your inputs into the bars have on the bike and how altering those inputs will have a different result, like slower and quicker steering, for instance. For the road, for me, just learning and becoming more conscious of how we steer the motorcycle will be a really good step to improve your bike control, even at modest speeds. You can use the various corners you ride to test different rates of steering and different positions of where you steer to see how it affects the corner. Because after all, not all corners are the same on the track, and you'll be using a variety of different lines as you tackle the nuances of each of them. So learning how to put the bike in different places and control it in different ways will help here. Another one is body position and going with the bike. Road riders are generally lazy when it comes to what they do with their bodies, because it's very easy to just sit there and there's really no need to exert yourself on a Sunday afternoon ride, for example. Now, this isn't really a problem if that's all you're doing, but it can create some issues when you get to the track. Riding like this means you don't really have any experience of engaging your lower body and core to free up your hands, so any support you do need during riding will almost always come from your hands. What riders also tend to do is ride with straight arms, which creates the situation of pushing the bike down underneath you rather than going with it. To combat this, you can practice engaging your lower body and core to help keep your body in line with the bike as you steer, or maybe just slightly moving to the inside of it, enabling you to control the bike with a loose grip and move the bike correctly as you lean over. Whether you decide to practice a full hang-off position is entirely up to you. But for me, just practicing and getting the lesson of truly engaging your lower body to create a loose grip is the key lesson here. Next up is throttle control, specifically mid-corner throttle control and timing. Given that you'll be going a lot slower on the roads and that many roads you'll ride will have turns where you spend a lot of time in them, it's a perfect place to practice good throttle control. The first part here is practicing your throttle timing, getting back to the throttle only after you've finished your steering and you're on the line you want. Realistically, this is going to be much earlier in the corner than on the track because of the speed you're going, but that doesn't matter. The key thing here is the smooth transition back onto the throttle, working to have as little effect on the bike's balance as possible when you do it. And once you are on the line you want, you can begin a very gradual roll on of the throttle as you move through, only increasing the rate of roll on once you can see your exit and begin removing lean angle. What about reaching higher lean angles? If you really want to work on achieving higher lean angles because you want to try and break those barriers down, I can only recommend you try this off the public road in a car park or private area where you can work with medium radius turns, increasing lean angle bit by bit in safety. And this is actually something that many schools do to help riders break their current lean angle barriers. Not in an attempt to make them ride faster, but to give them the confidence that they can lean the bike that bit farther if they should need to in an emergency. However, for you as a track rider, if you can break those lean angle barriers away from the track, it will undoubtedly pay dividends when you get back on it. Just make sure you approach it sensibly. Practice making turns at a high enough speed so you don't feel like you're going to tip right over, but slow enough that you don't scare yourself and total the bike in the unlikely event that you do come off. And lastly, your mind muscle. While not practical application, I found that steps can be made away from the track simply by learning about the art of riding. And yes, while it still comes down to actually being able to put the stuff you're learning into practice, just knowing what we should be doing, what's okay to do, and what not to do, you can in fact make some pretty good steps just from learning alone, particularly in the early days of track riding. So don't neglect the time you spend learning off the bike, because that can often have a big impact on the results you get when you get back on it. How do you use your time on the road to improve your performance on the track? Tell us about it in the comments down below. And as always, if you like this video, then please hit the button and subscribe to the channel for more performance riding advice and guides moving forward. I'll see you in the next one.